Well, thank you, Steve. Good morning. Welcome to everyone. Let me take a minute to welcome all the Westerners who are not from Texas. Welcome to Texas. Welcome to Houston, my hometown. I will say, throughout the West, there are principles that unite us. And the independence, a frontier mentality, a love of freedom. I remember last year, my daughter Caroline, when she was in 4th grade, was assigned to do a report on a state, and she got assigned the state of Montana. And Steve very kindly agreed to be interviewed by Caroline. So Caroline called and interviewed him, asked him, all right, tell me about Montana, what Montana's like. And Caroline's been to Montana, but she wanted to hear from Steve, and Steve loves Montana. But at the end of it, the opening line of her report, based on the interview with Steve Daines, is in Montana, every person has 3 cows. And I read it and I said, I'm pretty sure what he said is there are 3 cows for every person in Montana, which is a slightly different way of phrasing it. But frankly, I like the way you put it better. I like it. You show up in Montana, here are your cows. But there is, look, that captures some of the similarities. You know, you look at the western states, what do we want? We mostly want the federal government to leave us the hell alone. Keep the country safe, establish the courts, protect the rule of law, and stay out of our way. And I will say, for those of y'all who are new to Houston, Houston is the 4th largest city in the country. It is the most diverse big city in the country. And it is, I believe, the most entrepreneurial big city in the country. Houston is a town where nobody gives a damn who your daddy is. Where anybody can come from anywhere in the world, filled with dreams and achieve anything. And you know, when you're talking about issues in the West, energy is always front and center. And in Houston, energy is always front and center. This is the oil and gas capital of the world. And a point I want to make briefly is if you look at energy across the board, whatever it is, whether it's oil and gas, whether it's nuclear, whether it's coal, whether it's biofuel, whether it's solar or wind, across the board what you see is energy is about entrepreneurs putting capital at risk to change the world. And energy drives millions of jobs across this country. It drives prosperity across this country. It always entails risk, but the entire rest of the economy depends on it. And you know, sometimes when I encounter on the college campus, say some young Bernie Sanders activists that say, you know, are concerned the world is ending, I'll ask them with a smile. I'll say, apparently AOC cut off the mic. I'll ask them, I'll say, who is it, do you know, that did the most in recorded history to reduce greenhouse gases? And they look kind of puzzled, they have no idea. I said, look, there's an objectively right answer in terms of the human being that has had the greatest impact reducing greenhouse gases in the history of the globe. They have no idea. I said, the answer is a gentleman named George Mitchell. George Mitchell, Houstonian, the son of a Greek goat herder. Like I said, nobody cares who your daddy is. Who came here, and George Mitchell pioneered fracking. We always knew there were resources in shale, we just didn't know how to get them out. And George Mitchell pioneered how to extract those shale resources. Now one of the things that's worth noting, I believe that could only have happened in the state of Texas. Where Mitchell experimented and discovered how to make it work was in the Barnett Shale. Now the Barnett Shale is under Dallas and Fort Worth, a massive metropolitan area. Now imagine for a second if you were trying to do what Mitchell did in San Francisco. Imagine going to the city council and saying, okay, under this major metropolitan area, we want to drill down, we want to go horizontal, we want to frack the hell out of it. And we don't really know what we're doing, so we're just going to try a lot of different things and see what actually extracts the resources. In just about anywhere else in this country, they throw you out of your rear end. Here in Texas, say, hey, yeah, that sounds good to us. And it utterly transformed the energy picture because the shale revolution has resulted in a massive shift from coal to natural gas, which has reduced greenhouse gas emissions more than anything in the history of humanity. And it's also transformed the United States from, instead of being an energy-dependent country, having to go to countries in the Middle East, many of whose interests are very, very different from our own, and depend on them as an economic lifeline. It's transformed us instead into an energy powerhouse, the largest producer of oil in the world, the largest producer of natural gas in the world, and a major exporter of energy. That is a powerful transformation. And so Houston is ground zero for that. And Houston is a place where we honor and revere entrepreneurs who risk everything. Energy will change. There'll be new energy sources going forward, but it's going to be the same kind of people. The entrepreneurs and risk takers who pioneer the next energy sources, just like it was the entrepreneurs and risk takers who pioneered everyone we've seen here today.